Hey, I'm Stephanie, and my primer is now officially just a few small spatula scrapes away from extinction. And now I am faced with the ultimate question: do I simply repurchase the love of my life, or do I cheat on it with something new? And before you go thinking, Stephanie, it's really not that deep, let me assure you, this decision is the kind of thing that could only keep a makeup lover awake at night. Here's why it feels like a big deal. I'm currently on a replacements only no-buy. So if I gamble on a new primer and it's a flop, I'm stuck with it until the no-buy is over. But also, this situation is giving me a little bit of déjà vu. In my Completionism video, I admitted that I used to be on a constant search for the perfect version of things that I already owned. And that search resulted in me amassing way too much stuff. And now here I am again in a new situation, wondering if a new primer might be 5% better. Is this healthy curiosity, or is my makeup monster just pulling the strings? But let me back up and explain how we even got here, because I used to be firmly team no primer. I thought primer was just a marketing ploy to sell more moisturizer. I had very easygoing skin back then, I didn't need much coverage, and any good moisturizer seemed to do the trick under foundation. But then perimenopause happened. My skin went completely rogue. My rosacea flared up. I started getting random breakouts. I got oily patches next to dry patches, texture I'd never seen before, and my pores seemed to expand overnight like they were auditioning for some kind of science fiction movie. And that's when I discovered that primer, real actual primer, not just moisturizer, makes a difference. Not because the beauty industry had brainwashed me into believing it, but because my skin had changed. Before, I really didn't need primer, but all of a sudden, my makeup started looking so much better whenever I used it. Enter my current primer, or at least the remnants thereof, the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I've been using this for years, and it's been great. It's not magical, it doesn't blur or create a filtering effect, but it is hydrating without being heavy. It does make my foundation apply smoother and reduces the appearance of texture a little bit. I've heard people dismiss this as just a glorified moisturizer, and you know what? Maybe it is, but I've used plenty of excellent moisturizers under makeup, and none of them ever had quite the same effect that this one has. In my Completionism video, which I'll link here and in the show notes in case you want the full story, I talked about how I felt like research and constant comparison shopping would lead me to certainty, that I would finally know that I had the best thing for me, and I would then be able to stop shopping without a problem. But all that led to was me owning multiple versions of the same thing. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's a little bit different this time because I only own the one primer and I'm replacing it, not adding to a whole collection of similar items. But in some ways, it's also the same because I know that this is a beautiful primer that works well. And here I am wondering if there's something else out there that might be 5% better. Like maybe something that does exactly what this one does, but also adds a blurring element for my increasing texture. So I did what any rational person would do when faced with an existential primer crisis. I asked you for help, and wow, did you deliver. I got so many great comments that I'm not going to have time to respond to all of them in this video, but I want to let you know I read all of them, and I am so thankful with how generous you are with your knowledge and experience. I'm going to share some of the standouts with you, starting with my amazing Patreon community, and if you're interested in joining some of the conversations we have over there, I'll link that below. One of my patrons actually sent me a photo of her entire primer collection, and she highlighted Embryolisse as a standout. We're going to notice a theme here, I think. She also mentioned really liking the Paula's Choice Youth Extending Daily Hydrating Fluid, which I love the idea of because it has SPF in it. But my skin has gotten really sensitive to chemical sunscreens lately, so I would probably have to pass on that one. Another patron said, I swear by Merit Great Skin Serum as well as the moisturizer. Those are my only primers. And I love this because Merit is definitely on my shortlist, and it sounds like it might hit that sweet spot between skincare and makeup prep. But then I got this comment that really made me think. They wrote, on the one hand, it needs to be something that will actually cover your exact needs with the least risk possible, but also cover your novelty cravings. I'm sure many people will be happy to share their knowledge and experience, assuming they also like your current primer. Good point. And I would definitely make it a kind of poll between the ones you're most curious to try. And I think that that was a really good idea. So I actually created a poll, which I have linked underneath this video so that you can tell me your opinion on what you think I should do out of my short list of primers. Then this patron hit me with some real wisdom. I have Huda's primer and Guerlain meteorites in a bottle. They both work about the same, but the price point is something to keep in mind. And I hadn't considered either of these, and the performance comparison is very helpful, especially because they're at very different price points but perform the same. My only hesitation here is my past experience with both Huda Beauty and Guerlain products. They tend to be very strongly scented, and that's a little bit too much for my taste, but I very much appreciate the insight there. Now let's scroll through some of the YouTube comments because you had so much wisdom to share there too. This one made me laugh. I've been in the BB face base camp for 13 or 14 years. I've tried some other things from time to time, but if you like it and it works, why try something else? Honestly, that is the most logical advice I could probably receive. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But then I got this comment, which is basically an intervention. They wrote, the Sisley is incredible and very versatile. That and your face base are great picks. However, it's time for the makeup monster to go take a nap, and while the makeup monster is dreaming of new things to try, take action immediately and get your face base you love and request a sample of a new primer after your face base arrives. It's been in your capsule, and you taking the safe bet on this one will pay off in a way that is life-changing, teaching your brain how to have your primer and have all your needs met. Once that action is taken, you'll most likely not even think about it anymore. This person is basically telling me to put my makeup monster in timeout. And you know what? They're right. But also, my makeup monster is incredibly persuasive and obsessed because I've actually been dreaming about trying a new primer for 2 years. So I'm not sure I wouldn't think about it anymore, but that doesn't mean that that's not a very, very valid point. Someone else wrote, the BB face primer is very heavy in my opinion. I like Laura Mercier blurring primer the best. And this is interesting because I don't find the face base heavy at all, but skin is so individual. But the Laura Mercier is definitely on my list. Here is a comment that perfectly captures the dilemma. I've heard good things about the Victoria Beckham primer, but dollars. I love using moisturizer like the Embryolisse as a primer. I also dig the Bobbi Brown, so I don't blame you. The Victoria Beckham primer was on my list, but I removed it when I heard that it was reformulated and people weren't loving the new version. But Embryolisse keeps coming up, even though it feels so practical. Maybe it's exactly what I need? Here's a comment with a whole bunch of info. Recently, I have been skipping primer most days. Dry skin here, 70 in lines, but otherwise smooth surface. Okay, so here I can already tell that we have some differences because she's got smooth surface and I don't. And she says, when I use the Skin 1004, Skin 1004, Skin 1004, this brand, Centella sunscreen, it's Korean and leaves a smooth base. I tried Tatcha, didn't love it. When I was in love with Victoria Beckham Beauty, I tried her original primer, waited for a sale, and I really didn't care for it. I love that she mentioned trying the Tatcha and not loving it because that's definitely one that I'm curious about and have been hesitant to commit to. So hearing someone say it really wasn't all that great kind of makes me feel better about skipping that, especially because it has a high price point. But on the other hand, I'm having texture issues that she doesn't, and so I'm trying to weigh all of these different factors. Then we have this detailed insight. The Tula Filter Primer could meet your needs, and I find it blurring and never irritating or heavy, and it can be worn with summer weight foundation. It's not like the Bobbi Brown face base. It's a primer, not a moisturizer. I use Embryolisse when I want more of a layer. This is so helpful because it clarifies that the Tula is more of a traditional primer versus the Bobbi Brown being more of a priming moisturizer. Different tools for different jobs, but it sounds like on days where I need moisture, I would have to layer the Tula with something else. But I also have to say, I was looking at some reviews of the Tula primer, and I saw one person put it on half of their face, and it really did blur things. And so that does make me very curious about this particular one. I'm just wondering if maybe this isn't the right time for me to try it, because I would need to combine it with a moisturizer too. Then I got this comment and my ears immediately perked up. If you have a Primark near you, try their version of the face base. It's a well-known dupe of the Bobbi Brown, and I know some people who like it better than the Bobbi. But to me, they're the same thing, just a huge price difference. I've looked at the Chantecaille and Victoria Beckham primers, and neither of them have ingredients that justify the price tags, in my opinion. A Primark dupe, part of me is very intrigued, especially the part of me that is saving up for that camera, the whole reason I'm on this no-buy. But part of me also wants to feel like I'm treating myself to something luxurious after months of buying nothing. But the part of me that's saving up for the camera won out, and I did see if there was a Primark near me, and this is not available in my region, unfortunately. This comment about the Victoria Beckham primer was really helpful. I used and loved the original Victoria Beckham Beauty Priming Moisturizer in Golden, and it lasted a long time. I've only sampled the new formula, and I didn't like it much. I'm currently using the By Terry CC serum in Apricot in the winter and Sunny Flash in the summer. I don't love the rose scent, but it fades fast and doesn't irritate my skin. That's good to know that the reformulation, it doesn't seem to be inspiring a whole lot of people. And so that confirmed my decision to remove it from the list. But it also then all of a sudden added the By Terry CC serum to the list. I ultimately decided against it just because of the rose scent, but By Terry is a brand that I've actually wanted to try for a while. Then there's this practical advice. I love my Hourglass primer. I don't use primer for my everyday makeup, so I purchased the mini size. That way, if I decide I want to try something new, I can actually use up what I bought first. Genius! Mini sizes. Why didn't I think of that? Although I would have to check if the primers I'm considering even come in mini sizes, because unfortunately not all brands do that for all products. I realize that mini sizes aren't usually going to give you the best bang for your buck, but if you're trying something new and you don't even know if you're going to like it, a mini size makes so much sense. And so this is something I've actually started trying to do. Anytime a brand offers a smaller version and I haven't tried their thing yet, I often get the mini size, so that's great advice. Along similar lines, someone hit me with this reality check. Some of these you can get samples of from Nordstrom or Sephora. That way you can try before you buy. Very practical. Personally, I don't think primers make too much of a difference. I use my moisturizer as a primer. I've also used my Charlotte Tilbury setting spray as a primer, and that works too. Tell your makeup monster that less is more. Primer is a lie that's told to you to make you feel like you need even more products in your daily routine than you need. And you know, 5 years ago, I would have 100% agreed with that last statement. And I still agree with that. If you feel like you do not need a primer, I am not going to try to convince you that you need one, because before perimenopause started, I also didn't need one. But now that my skin's going haywire, everything has changed. I do think, though, that it is an excellent point, and I 100% need to tell my makeup monster that less is more. And finally, we have this one. I have dry skin, and Embryolisse Lay Cream Concentrate works well. It's really moisturizing, but not that blurring or pore filling. More Embryolisse love, but with the honest caveat that it's not particularly blurring. And if I try a new primer, it should probably be one that has at least a little bit of a blurring quality, since that's the one thing I really do miss in my Bobbi Brown. So after reading through all of your suggestions and doing some more research, I finally settled on a short list, which admittedly isn't all that short. They're in no particular order. We'll start with the Merit Great Skin Priming Moisturizer, because this sounds like it's very similar to my beloved face base, but it adds a blurring element. Could this be the upgrade that I'm hoping for? The Tatcha The Silk Canvas in the liquid version. Multiple people mentioned its silk-like finish and its blurring qualities, though one person specifically said they didn't love it, so I'm a little curious, but she also doesn't deal with texture, whereas I do. So there is that. We've got the Hourglass number 28 Primer Serum, because this sounds like it would give me that dewy, luxurious skincare meets makeup experience that I'm drawn to. Then we have the Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Hydrating Primer. This feels like it could be a slightly more refined, lightweight alternative to the Bobbi Brown. We have the Sisley Double Tensor Primer. I have lerved every single Sisley skincare sample I've ever tried. I've never bought anything, but I've tried a whole lot of their samples. So if their primer agreed with my skin, I think it would probably be a huge hit. Plus, my friend Heba loves it. Then we have the Tula Filter Primer. I saw a before and after video of the blurring effect that looked genuinely impressive, so this one definitely is on my radar. But I'm not sure that it's the best choice for me right now during my no-buy. And then there's the Embryolisse, which, to be completely honest, is kind of on this list against my will, just because it feels so practical. So unexciting. And after months of not buying anything, part of me just really wants to treat myself to something that feels luxurious, even though a budget option would definitely be wiser, given my current goal of saving for a new camera. The thing is, I did actually own the Embryolisse years ago, and I liked it. I thought it was fine, but I didn't really see it make a difference with my makeup. However, that was back before I really didn't need primer, so I'm wondering if maybe I would notice a difference now. And of course, my favorite is still on the list, the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base, which I know works, I know I love it, and I know it would be probably the safest choice out of all of them. But this isn't really about primer, is it? It's about that eternal question that anyone who's trying to be more intentional with their purchases asks, and that is, when do you stick with what works? And when do you give yourself the freedom to explore? Because on the one hand, constantly searching for the next best thing is how I ended up with a collection that was so big that it stressed me out more than it brought me joy. And I ended up spending too much money and time researching products instead of just enjoying what I already had. But on the other hand, my skin has genuinely changed. My needs have evolved. And maybe, just maybe, there is another product on the market that would be a better match for my current skin concerns. And then, of course, there's the aspect of timing, because I am in the midst of my No Lust August replacements only no buy. I'll put a link in the description to my free blog if you'd like to follow that more closely, but one of the rules is that I'm only allowed to purchase one of a thing in any given category. So of course, if I buy the wrong one, I can't do anything to fix it. Here's what my brain sounds like these days. Responsible Stephanie says,
just buy the Bobbi Brown again. You know it works, you know you love it, why complicate things? And you just made a video on not always chasing the next best thing, so follow your own advice.
But curious Stephanie says,
what if there's something out there that works even better? What if there's a primer that addresses your pores more effectively, or lasts longer, or feels more luxurious? Don't you want to know?
And then practical Stephanie chimes in with,
girl, you are on a no-buy. This is not the time for experiments. Buy the safe choice and move on with your life.
But then professional Stephanie argues,
actually, trying a new primer would give you deeper context about the options out there and help people wondering about the same products.
And accountant Stephanie adds,
buy the Embryolisse. It's the cheapest and it'll get you to your camera goal the fastest.
All the while, my makeup monster's just going, wah, 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 wah. It's like a committee meeting in my head where everyone has a valid point. Except for maybe the makeup monster. She's just crazy. So I've been trying to create a framework for this decision that accounts for all of the factors. So for example, risk tolerance. How much do I want to gamble under my no-buy rules? Based on this, I should probably play it safe with the Bobbi Brown. Then we have opportunity cost. What happens if I try something new and it's a flop? This says that a new primer could be wasted money. Then we have the excitement factor, because part of the joy for me is in the search. And this says that exploring would be valuable. Then, of course, we also have professional value. Would trying a new primer serve me and my audience better? Based on this, testing a new one would be worth it. So here's where you come in, because I genuinely cannot decide, and you have always come through for me. So do you think that I should play it safe and just repurchase my beloved Bobbi Brown? Or do you think there's value in trying something new, especially because my skin has changed so much? And more broadly, when you have a product you really enjoy, but you still see specific things that you would improve if you could, when do you stick with what you know? And when do you experiment with something new? Assuming, of course, that you even like to try new things, because I know that there's some people, when they find something that works well enough, they just like to stick with that. And that's okay too. What's your framework for making decisions like this? I would love to hear your reasoning in the comments. What factors matter most in situations like this one? Because I think this primer predicament represents something bigger that we all deal with. The tension between contentment and curiosity, the gratitude towards what we already know works, and the excitement about what might work even better. There's nothing wrong with either impulse. Curiosity drives innovation and keeps life interesting. Contentment brings peace and allows us to be happy with where we're already at. I don't think we have to choose one or the other. I think the point is to find a balance that serves us best, to be curious without being compulsive, to explore while never losing the appreciation for what we already know and love. Whether I end up repurchasing my Bobbi Brown or trying something new, I just want this decision to come from a place of intention and not compulsion. Of course, having you on my advisory committee makes this feel less like a solitary obsession and more like a conversation about how we can navigate these decisions in a world that's constantly offering us new things to want. So please let me know what you think. Share your experiences. Tell me about a time you had to choose between safe and new. Vote in the poll. I am so looking forward to hearing what you have to say. If you enjoyed this field trip into the makeup monster habitat that is my mind, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out this video here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone who commented and to all of my channel members and patrons, including my Adagio angels, for making content like this possible. I hope we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.